Right. Yeah. So hope this gets them some good sales and stuff. So
Takes a good mix of everything to make it happen.
right, right. It does. I'm like, okay, so I'm filming right now. I was kind of adjusting my hair for a second. Um, so I'm in the chat, and let me see. He's in the chat, and people are already talking to us. So that's good.
Yes, it is.
Uh, how I'm like a little like whoa. Okay, it's like I kind of had this like I think this is gonna be a really good show.
I do too.
I'm super prepared. I like actually wrote out like a like I have a monologue idea that I flowed through me last night, and I like even this morning sometimes like when I get ready I kind of like still have to work on stuff, but I was so like done with everything that I could dance around to Depeche Mode for a while.
You professional. You're
I
just getting sharp as a tack every day.
I was like really surprised by myself, like wow, I'm done.
Well, see, when you get chirpy, all kinds of things can happen.
Right, right.
But it's inspiring when you have a chance to do the things that you know are important, and that is reading somebody's material and familiarizing yourself. So, I mean, not that you couldn't do it without it, but that when you do it, it's really amazing.
Well, I just kind of I felt I deserved it. You know what I mean? It's like I kind of just felt like, what? I don't want to come in and just kind of bullshit my way through it.
No, you're right, baby. It's the sign of your professional side, and you've been so challenged with so many things that it's
Are you there, Lori? Shit, Lori? Damn it.
Hi, this is Lori Buckley. Please leave me a message. Bye. At the tone, please record your message. Hi, this is Lori Buckley. Please leave me a message. Sorry, baby. The phone flew out of my hand. I was watering a plant. Sorry, Eddie.
I was like, oh my god, I lost her, and then I try to call back, and I'm like, oh, because you know, like you're like
I
something's.
know my phone, when it fell, it shut itself off. I go, oh no. Then it took a second for it to come back on.
Oh my god. Well.
Sorry. False alarm.
Right, right. All right, so I'm
I
gonna
just oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna add Steven. Oh, but go ahead.
Well, I just received a 13-minute trailer from the guys that I used to work with on the Lord Buckley thing, and it's an amazing piece. It's just amazing, Terry. I have to send it to you. It's a phenomenal thing. I'm just reverberating from it, because they went from being mediocre to being really good. And
Wow.
it looks like, and so I'm a little shaken, but in a good way. You know how sometimes when you think something's going to happen your way and it doesn't,
Yeah.
but it doesn't in the way you're looking at is a bad thing. It's just it's just reverberating through my body right now.
Wow. Stephen, are you
Yeah.
with us? Hi. You're a little bit low. It could be a little louder.
Gosh, my gain's awful high. All right, I'm just gotta get my face right into the microphone. That's all. How's that?
Okay, that's good. That sounds good. Stephen, this is Lori. Lori, this is Stephen.
Hi, Lori.
How do you do, Stephen? Hi.
So we're on Revolution Radio, huh?
Yeah.
And this is your Freedom of Joy show at this time every week?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah. So, I read your book. So I'm really excited to talk about it.
Cool. So what'd you like best? I suppose should wait for the show, huh?
Well, I mean, I could tell you briefly. I first of all, I couldn't stop reading it.
Well, let's share it for the show. This is good stuff.
Okay, all right.
We'll keep it original.
Okay.
So my show last night was really good, apparently.
Oh, great.
The numbers were ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy big numbers.
I actually tuned into like the last 20 minutes of it.
Wow.
Which I'm bummed I missed the beginning part. I was doing stuff and then I kind of looked at the clock and I went, oh, so I'm glad it went really well for you.
Yeah. Well, he was a good guest. She's gonna come back. Doggie's not gonna be on the show, is it? Coochie Cooch there. Hopefully Doggie's coming to the quiet room. Wow.
Sometimes my cat will go crazy in the background on a show.
Oh.
But he's not. I'm in a different room today, so.
Sorry about that.
Did the dog sneak into the sound booth or what?
It was the Sparklets man. Well, she got a light nudge from my foot. and then moved back to bark again.
I would get the same thing. Actually, if there was fireworks here, the dogs would go nuts. That's crazy. I have to move the microphone. No fireworks.
Well, they want revenge for violating their ears.
I think one of these animals has post-traumatic stress disorder or something. It's a Katrina dog. It's a Katrina dog
Yeah.
that just freaks out. And then the other one just cowers. One barks, the other one just cowers. It's terrible.
We got the alpha dog and the subservient.
They're both female. It's just and one's bigger than the other. But the older dog, of course, is the one that's doing the barking. So the younger dog, takes its cue from the older dog, probably, right?
That's how it works.
Anyway, so people in chat, I guess they weren't. I was in chat right now saying hello to everybody.
Yeah, I said hi a little earlier, too. So, looks like it's going to be pretty active.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, crazy stuff though. Seriously, this guy last night, ex-NSA linguist, intelligence analyst, people like that don't grow on trees,
Right.
It's like, wow, you had who on your show? It's like, so, I don't know. It's kind of crazy stuff. And this is the first time this guy's done any American radio program whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah. Totally. He's done nothing but foreign stuff. Al Jazeera, the BBC, German, Dutch, whatever, Saudi, Iraqi, Jordanian, stuff like that, Iranian, all those press TV, all those places. Russian Today. I've had so many guests that have done Russia Today on. This is just the latest one. And he's never done American.
It's wonderful to see these people coming forward and tipping us to what's up. It's an amazing
It's wonderful
thing.
to be able to find them because they're just out there. They're out there. You just got to find them and bring them present them to the world.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, from what I could tell, it sounded like a really good show, and then he's coming back next week too, right?
Yeah. Well, we just got lucky because he had a good voice. He was intelligent, and he delivered a lot of information in a clear way that people could understand.
Recognize that.
I'm just checking to see where they are in the show. They're gonna probably wrap up here pretty soon.
Yeah, I go about 2 more minutes probably.
Okay. All right. So, well, that's great. I mean, that's great that you had a good guest. You had, good numbers.
Yeah, very spontaneous too. It's just a guy from Facebook that I found. I said, this guy, we have this guy, and he responded, and boom, boom. And sometimes you get a little desperate trying to find people, and you just happen to find this gem. And it makes you look good because it's like it blows me away. I keep coming up with these incredible guests one after the other. It's like, wow. It's like, how does this happen?
It's the law of attraction. It's your time, it's your moment, and you're finding them and they're finding you.
Yeah.
It really must be spoken about, and these are the days where you could use a ton of revelations.
It's good for everybody, And I tell my fellow hosts, such as yourself, Terry,
Yeah.
that these guests are, my guests are your guests. If there's anybody that I interview that you want to get on your show, all you got to do is, they're there.
Well, I appreciate that. That thank you, and vice versa. I mean, I'm, who knows? I might have somebody you want.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky if after doing a show, I don't listen to the radio very much. I kind of walk away from it. Can't do
To
it.
recharge?
Well, yeah. All right, we got to go on here.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Come on.
Sorry, ma'am.
Welcome to tune in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in the freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, and above all, we believe in freedom of existence and self-reliance. This station is 100% listener supported and has a fundraising promotion by having a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years from the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if the prices go crazy, the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our Seed Pack Special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need as humans to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted. What are we going to watch? Here goes the time.
You see, I grew up in America. I grew up in a land where phrases like, I have a dream, meant something. I grew up where I believed freedom existed, that that's what I was fighting for. But our founding fathers made America the land of the free and the land of the brave. This is America, damn it, and I'm taking it back.
And now your host, Terry Joyce.
Yeah, welcome to the Freedom of Joyce show on Revolution Radio. Thank you for tuning in today. I have a guest that probably everybody here knows that I'm going to bring on here in a moment. He has a show here on Revolution Radio, Stephen D. Kelly show on Thursday nights. And, I know that probably a lot of the listeners out there might already know his story and about the book that he wrote, which is in a revised edition called Cities Under the Plain. But, I wanted to go into a little bit more detail today about his story. And if you've seen any of his videos or somewhat, heard him speak about it, I really suggest that you get the book, because in reading the book you will really see it's like you see it through his eyes and his own personal journey, and also his own awareness of his own process, his own evolution, which I really would like to get more into actually when I bring him on, and I'm going to bring him on in just a moment. Before we start though, I also want to say that Revolution Radio, we are listener supported, and it's we're grateful for it because it allows us to be able to have the freedom of speech and to give all this great information to you that most people don't get to hear because we're not controlled by an advertiser. And so we do really thank you for your support that you give us. Right now we are at $550 for the month, and we have 21 days left. So we do still have some time, but please do make a donation and keep us going here. And I'd like to thank you already because I know you've already donated. So thank you very much. And there's a few things that I'd like to share at the top of the hour before I bring our guest on, Stephen. One of the things is I live at a place where there's a brick room that we all kind of hang out in, and we smoke weed in the room and talk, and one of my roommates, he's not really my roommate, he lives on the same property as me, but he's another comedian friend of mine. He plays the character Sergeant Detective Harry Palmer Jr. that I had as a guest one time, and it was he wasn't a real person, it was kind of anyway. So we're sitting there and we're smoking, and and the World Cup is happening, and and Ron is like a big sports guy. Like, I've seen more sports because I go and hang out, and that's what's on the TV, and there'll be football and basketball, and he'll educate me on how the game's played, and what happens psychologically behind it, and all that kind of stuff. And I started to think about what this was all about, like what competition was, how there's like one team against another team, and they go against each other, and we all get into it, and we drink our beers, and we paint our faces, and we're like, and I thought like, what kind of consciousness is this? What is it that like the politics, red, blue, Republicans, Democrats, up against each other, two different philosophies, who's gonna win? Boxers, boom, 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 pummeling each other out, and then I started thinking about like the like the Olympics. And you watch the Olympics, and you watch all the world leaders, and you watch the Queen coming out, and it just kind of like put me into this feeling about the Roman days, where all the elite would come together and their slaves would come and duke it out between each other. And like, how is it any different now? There's like an arena, we watch people duke it out. Some people get head injuries, or they break their neck, or there's a certain level of like violence that exists underneath it, and I just was processing all of this, and sometimes like I look at it and I go, this really kind of disgusts me, or sometimes I look at it and I go, I don't really get this, and then I get snobby and I think, oh, I'm just evolved past this experience. And then I thought to myself, and I thought, really? Like, am I really evolved from it? Like, because then I realized that I participate in my own version of what I feel competition is. And, for example, I engaged in a show where comedians competed, to be the last comic standing. And people would ask me, after the experience, they go, so what's it like to be on a reality show? And I go, well, It's kind of like a 70s depression film that I saw called They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Because here it is where we are like, given this nugget that we think that, that this illusion of what we think that we could have in our life. It's like, this is the brass ring. What will you do to get the brass ring? Will you be a jerk? What kind of strategy are you going to get? And like this whole thing just all goes to, because we're the last comic standing. Wow. I'm thinking like, well, can't we all just be funny? Like, how do we take one particular art form and go, oh, that art form is like the best because, it was on a reality show and it was the best. Like, we don't do competitions where we go, oh, this is Pablo this is Pablo Picasso, and over here is Salvador Dali. Screwed those names up, but you know what I'm talking about. And over here's Pablo Picasso and Salvador Dali, and they're in a head-to-head competition. They're going to do their paintings with crayons and cow dung. Now go. You, the audience, can vote. And by the way, last year we had Leonardo da Vinci won. And Leonardo, how's your career going now? Well, I was asked to paint the Sistine Chapel. It's like, this is not real. Like why is it that one thing has to be better than the other? And this whole thing, and then people say, well, you know what, it's down to Darwinism. It's like, it's survival of the fittest. You got to like knock out the other person so you can get like what's yours. And it's like this, and it's genetic. It's in our species. That's the way we do it. And I'm like, really? And then you even think about like how we even come on the planet, right? It's like a bunch of sperm only one of them makes it to the egg, but sometimes they have challenges like spermicide and bad breath, but and I just like, well, what is all of this? Like, how is it that we evolved as a species beyond this point? And then I started to look at the World Cup. I went, wow, World Cup, kind of like a softer sport, not like so head banging. The athletes have like longer bodies. They're not so steroided out, not quite as violent. It's a world game, so it's like it incorporates the world at a certain skill that happens. And my friend Ron, who's the comedian, and we were smoking weed and we were looking at the TV, and he was telling me about the World Cup, and he goes, the World Cup is really like, it's like a game that at first I thought it was like a sissy game, and then I got into it, and he goes, I realized that ball going back and forth is just kind of like the sperm looking for the ovum, which is the goal. And I went, whoa. I looked at the field and I go, wow, that is like really true. And I thought, this is a more balanced game. Like, there is like the female and the male energy in it, and it's a little bit more nicer. It's kind of like the methadone to football. And I thought, well, maybe as a society, we are slightly evolving into this other extra little arena. So to wrap it all up, because you're probably like, what is the point of all of this, Terry? Well, the point is that if we stay in competition, if we stay going, who's the winner, who's the best, then where else does it translate to? It becomes wars and religion and politics, and it's just like one big manipulation after another. Like the philosophy is that, everybody's greedy. Everybody has to get their own. And if you want to really get down to what Darwinism really is, it's about the most adaptable. Who is the most adaptable? I had an argument with a friend of mine about greed. I said, not everybody is greedy. He goes, yes, they are. That's the way the universe works. And I go, well, if everybody wants to get their own, then guess what? We all lose. But if we have a philosophy where it's not just me, but it's the entire whole, I want to make sure that my brother and sister is okay and has enough food to eat and happy shelter and a life and everything they need, as well as myself. And that, my friend, is evolution. So, anyways, now I'm off my soapbox. I'd like to welcome to the show, first of all, my co-host Lori Buckley. Welcome to the show.
Great, beautiful day. So happy to be here, baby.
I'm great. Great to have you here. And then also I have Stephen D. Kelly with us. So welcome. Thank you for doing the Freedom of Joy show today.
You.
Thanks. So I read your book, and I got it like a couple days ago, and I got through, like, because I got it on Kindle, and when you read it on Kindle, like, I get the first couple of parts read, like the two little stars. I go, okay, I read a quarter of it. Yesterday I had like a super busy day, but I kept wanting to read it in between all the things I had to get done. And then last night I was like, it was like probably it was getting close to 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, God, I have like 5 more chapters. But and I thought, you know what? I'm going to read the rest of the book because I was so engrossed with your story, and that I wanted to see it to completion. And I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you. It does kind of pick up at the end, huh?
It does, because like right when like what I love about it is that it kind of plays out like a movie in some ways.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's a fine thing. Yeah, it's like a spy novel slash action thriller type of thing, or spy drama, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That's real, huh?
Yeah, it's very, and also, your connection to James Bond.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, like as like a running theme, and then how you brought that back into the story, because you were just like a regular guy, just like not even. I mean, you didn't. Like, you didn't have like the education that some people in the field of what you went to would have had, and yet there you were.
Yep. Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, that's a joke. Actually, it's a big joke out there. University of PerkinElmer. It's a big giant corporation. It's like it's all physics, of course, and cutting edge technology and all that. But you don't get that in school. You only get that in the real world. And then when you are in the real world, you're still going to school. So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'll tell you, to be honest with you, as far as schooling goes, I was around more, engineers. I'd go to school, and then I'd come to work, and I'd have all these PhDs and everybody around me to basically answer any question I might possibly have. It was crazy, and these guys would just be, engineers walk around with coffee cup types, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'd be more than happy to explain equations to you and things like that. It was one of those pretty cool, actually. So.
Yeah.
One of the benefits of working for a ridiculous company like that.
I didn't realize you had a twin.
Yeah, identical twin. That's a big part of the whole story too.
Yeah. And it's also interesting how you guys both were sort of doing the same type of work, only just a little bit different. Yeah.
Different facets of the same industry, or the different processes in the same end product. Basically, that's what it was. Specializing in different areas of the manufacturing process. So, but that was certainly a big part of it. All that learning how to make the optics and stuff, because that basically, when doing that, making optics, what we were doing is we were pushing the boundaries of what was physically possible, using the most state-of-the-art measuring tools, and then trying to go beyond what was able to be measured, so to speak. So it was constantly, by doing so, technology is all based on measurement, technically, and the ability to define smaller and smaller increments of measurement. That's kind of the thing that we were doing, and the ability to do that allows you to make the semiconductors and all the solid-state technology that we take for granted today is all a result of the ability to make lenses that could make finer and finer detail, allowing for all this semiconductor production and everything else. Not to mention all the weapons they're using in the war, of course.
Well,
Everything. Huh?
yeah. Yeah, it was, and also what I found fascinating about your story was just how the sequence of events happened to you, the synchronicity of your experience.
Well, okay, I gotta ask you, Joyce. We were talking before the show started. What was your favorite part? What did you? I mean, would anything blow you away? I mean, what shocked you the most? What was your favorite thing?
Okay. What was my favorite part? Okay, what I liked about it too was your viewpoint of people. You know, the way you described a character. The way he looked. You know, the fact that you'd say, you know, he was one of those kind of smokers that would put like a half a cigarette in his pocket and you could smell it.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? Well, it would be Rob. That's a military thing, you know. Smoke them with the gun, you know. They put them out real quick. They put them in their pocket. That's an army thing, I think.
Yeah. You know, there was also, I don't know, there was one character that when you met him, he had onion on his breath, so he must have
Yeah,
ate
the
some.
Gaston,
Yeah.
the French chief.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
And then there were some things that you would say about an experience or something like that, or your assessment, and then it just the way you phrased it, it would just make me laugh. I go, wow, and it was interesting. I also liked the way you I don't. I guess maybe it was just to see how you looked at your experience was fascinating.
Well, of all the little events and crazy happenings and stuff like that, was there anything that kind of struck you that you enjoyed? That you know?
Well, there was something that really affected me. On there was part of the when I was reading the book, I had a kind of an aha moment where I went, oh, I knew that, and it happens like much later in the book, where you're saying something to a guy, you know, and you leave the question out there, and you're waiting for the response, and he comes up, and his response is that the Nazis and the Jews are together on it.
Yeah, yeah. That would be Vince.
Yeah.
That guy died. By the way, that guy died. Okay, he's a casualty. He's no longer with us. In fact, I've talked to other people in my industry who were also involved with these, special stuff, and they suggested to me, and I've also suspected this, that they took him out. He was heart attacked. My man Vince. I talk about that in the book. Vince was like a handler. He came into my life ostensibly to help me market this big plasma beam flashlight we had to a defense contractor, but they wanted it to turn into a weapon, and that kind of. But I think in reality, Vince was a handler, and I don't even know if Vince was human. He was a really strange character, but he was in New York, and from what I heard, he was on his way to a meeting or something. I mean, they say he had a heart attack, but the last, from what I heard, was when they were carting him off, he was basically saying, no, I'm not ready. Come on, don't do it. Whatever. It's almost so. But he was the one that coined the phrase the cavers. Basically, he was one of them. He talked a lot about the undergrounds. His background. I mean, just because he's an interesting character, and I don't even really go into that detail in the book too much. But his background, you have to read the book to remember. But anyway, he worked a lot in Africa with the CIA people and the international types, trying to counter the growing Chinese influence, which is obviously very big. So from a geopolitical standpoint, the United States and China are fighting over Africa, obviously, and with infrastructure and, all that, winning the hearts and minds of the people. But that was his thing. But he basically, I believe that he was one of several handlers that came along that was to try to manage me and at least become involved in my dealings and somehow try to manipulate me if possible. But he kind of failed. I think where he really failed was this thing where you brought up, like, okay, we might as well talk about that real quick.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, the thing is, and this is extremely controversial, obviously, and I do so without any kind of animosity towards anybody at all. But if you read the notorious the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, there is a very distinct passage in there where they refer to underground cities and how these underground cities will be equipped with explosives should the population ever rise up against these people, they will blow up these places and take these cities with them. Not the underground cities, but the cities above. In other words, they would build these cities underneath metropolitan areas, capitals and what have you, and then they would rig them with explosives. I'm assuming these are like nukes or something, but remember, we're talking about a book that was written 100 years ago, okay, at least over 100 years ago probably. Anyway, even way back then they were talking about this stuff. Well, one day, this is how the story goes, I sent an email to this guy Vince, and the email was very simple. All it was a passage, which was like a sentence or two out of this paragraph. No, I think it was like paragraph 9, or let me see. There's sections, okay, like chapter 9, paragraph 10, something like that, or chapter 10, paragraph 9, I believe it is, where they talk about the metropolitans. And I can almost quote the line, but a lot of people might find it offensive, so I'm not going to do it. But anyway, I quoted this line to this guy in this email, and that's like he said, it was a test to see how he would respond, because it was almost like an admission. It's like, hey guys, I know what's up, da-da-da, kind of a thing, so to speak. Like I'm not an idiot. It's not the first time I had handlers following me around and trying to get me to do things. And anyway, then he comes back with this line, says, hey, we're not all Jews, we're also Nazis. But the thing is, beyond just that one statement, which was mind blowing to me in itself, because here I was thinking that the Getty was a bunch of Zionist people, because it seemed to coincide with the protocols, of course. And if you look at the architecture, it looks like King Solomon's temple. So right away you're thinking, okay, it looks more Zionist than anything else. And then these guys say, oh no, Nazi, Nazi, Nazi. And then you realize this is very true. There are these real Nazis there, and the Nazis do this, and the Nazis do that, and they've got Nazi mind control, Nazi psychics, blah, blah, blah. And it's like 50%. And then you look at the Templars, and you look at Templars, and Templars, people are more inclined to think of Templars as Nazis than they are as Zionists, but anything Masonic, of course, is Zionist. So that's just the way it is. And, but the details of all that question are far more complex and incestuous than you can imagine, and obviously it goes back to the days of King David and King Solomon, and we don't need to get into that. But the bottom line, though, is that probably Vince got in trouble, I'm pretty sure, for saying that to me. I'm pretty sure that might have been one of the reasons why he kind of failed as a handler, because he sort of responded in an inappropriate way. But to go on about how he did respond, he did something that I've heard from other people in other circumstances that I'll explain, and that was he started making references to God and Satan and Christ and all this. In other words, he went into defense mode, but he went into overkill. He didn't just defend the collaboration of the Nazis and the Jews. He also went into defending Satan and Lucifer and tried to say that God and Satan were the same thing and stuff like this. And I've heard that before. And the other time I've heard that very, very same defense line was from Bora, who was the remote viewer who went down there into the bottom of the Getty and found the satanic sacrifices going on down there. Because when she basically came back from her little trip down to the bottom, she immediately went into the defense of Satanism, which was what somebody in her position, which was very pagan, anti-paternalistic religion, earth religion type person would be, a witch per se. But obviously Bora was a blue blood European. I think she was Yugoslavian or something like that, or Austria or something of this nature. But anyway, she was obviously a very gifted psychic, very gifted remote viewer. But after she went to the bottom of the Getty, yes, she reported everything that she saw. But yes, she also went into this defense mode of Satanism, so to speak. And that's the exact same thing that this guy did when I confronted him with this line out of the protocols. So, how about that?
Yeah, and I noticed that in the book too, like the correlation between the statement of like, yeah, it's the same. Well, it's the same thing. God is Satan, Satan is God. And the philosophy of that. We're going to take a commercial break here. It's not really a commercial break. We're going to take a break here with our announcements.
Oh, you got 30-minute break, so I see that.
Yeah. So that's going to come up here in a minute. But there's something that I'd like to share after the break with you. The reason why that particular passage made a bell go off in my own head, because that's one of the things that, especially like when you covered the subject matter of the underground Nazi bases in the Antarctic. I was interested in that because I always felt that there was some sort of Nazi alien connection with what happened in World War II and into now. And I had also stumbled on some information about the Real Society and the women with the psychics with the long hair and all of that kind of stuff. And it's interesting to see how everything is somewhat tied in to what might be happening on the planet.
Totally.
We'll be right back with more Freedom of Joy. Stay tuned.
Radio at freedomswitch.com. We'll be right back after this message. Revolution Radio. You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos. The sick ones are sitting on their fat asses, eating and drinking themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. The shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and then bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Get excited. Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomswitch.com. Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? In survival, from gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. with plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You had it, I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drives to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back to the Freedom of Joy show. With me is Stephen D. Kelly and my co-host Lori Buckley. Welcome back to the show, you guys.
Cool.
Lori, is there anything that you would like to ask Stephen right now?
Well, I have to say, I'm all ears because it puts so many things I've read over the years together, and what it must be like to carry a burden of so much information and a prognosis that sounds so deceptive, and yet the people that came to you were risking themselves to enlighten you for, I'm just guessing, for the greatest possible good to happen beyond the negative of which they've seen. Is it something like that?
Well, Vince, I wouldn't say was coming to me to enlighten me. Vince was coming to me to try to control me. The bad guys sent him into my life to try to get close. That's one of the things they do. They'll either try to hire you or get you in contracts in some way, or they'll get somebody to act as a customer of yours, or somebody that is like a representative for some business transaction, or some mentor of some sort. They'll come at you like one way or the other, at all kinds of different times. And usually when somebody's trying to do like screw you over, you basically look at whatever it was that you were doing at the time and figure that you must be doing something right and keep doing that. So, but it also, that's when you, as far as learning and information goes, when you, and anybody that goes through this wake-up process does this. I'm pretty, unless you're just wake up all the time, you're born that way. But it seems to me that when someone gets shaken or awake by some traumatic exposure, so to speak, the first thing they do is everything they thought they knew they throw out the window, and you have to start over. And for me, to answer the questions I had to take a look at history. I had to really understand people, because I was looking for the source of ancient hatreds, involving biblical genocides and things like this. And I had to know who came from where and what, et cetera, et cetera. So, so this was all history, all religion, all mythology, everything, all the various religious texts of all the various different, cultures. And you learn a lot of things. You certainly learn where everybody comes from. And then when you add in all the alien stuff, you get their perspective, and you kind of overlay what there's multiple different versions of what happened out there that you just sort of have to try to work out. And it seems to me that the most, or when you get to a certain point, and it's very much like a puzzle. People use this puzzle analogy quite a bit, but once you get a lot of those puzzle pieces there, and you start to see the overall picture, a lot of things become simpler. And it's also that way when you get into the physics and some of the technology involved in some of these advanced concepts. So it all adds up, basically. But the more you get, the simpler it all seems, really.
And the ultimate goal, obviously, is the control of people that want to control civilization, the situation, on the planet. What is the what is the hope that keeps you going?
Hope. It's a fight, huh, Terry?
Yeah.
If I had hope, I wouldn't be doing this. Seriously. If I was like everybody else and thought, oh, I'm going to work hard and come home and have a beer and watch TV and the game and retire and take a vacation in Cabo for 2 weeks and all that sort of thing and play with my toys on the weekend. I mean, how, to go back to sleep and to have that lifestyle, to buy insurance and to have credit cards, get vaccinated, right?
I mean about you. What is, because you're still on the trail.
I am fighting the good fight, and right now I have, I said this sounds kind of morbid. No, I don't want to sound morbid, but and I think, Terry, hopefully you'll understand what I'm talking about, that the situation right now means that we're in a battle, and those of us that are in the battle, that are really slugging it out 100% of the time, there is no taking a break right now. There's no R&R. Charlie don't have USO, as they say. So it's not going to, this will be continuous until it's over. And, and as it is right now, as of just recently, things got stepped up in the world. And those of us that are on the front lines of trying to fight this evil are going to be very busy if they are truly involved. And the way I see it right now, there's no rest for the wicked. This is it. This is it till the end.
It's game on.
It's game on. The war is on, and there's no more vacation. That's how it is right now.
I do feel that. I feel that is coming, and yeah, it's on.
I will.
Yeah.
It's on. I mean, they're sitting in the tanks. They're sitting in the armored vehicles. They got their bullets. They got their armor. They got their boom squads. It's only a matter of time. And those of us that are on the front lines, I mean, what do you think they're going to do to me when they start rounding people up? I mean, come on, I'm not on their red list, unless they can't touch me. But I mean, all of us. So, but that's the thing. Up until that time comes, we're going to keep throwing rocks into the pond. We're hoping that everybody out there listening is going to throw rocks, and there's going to be lots of ripples, and it's just going to keep going outward and outward. And hopefully, we can have an effect on what actually happens. So that's why we're doing what we do.
Is it consciousness? What does your effort look like?
Right.
What it is that you, being on the front line of what it is you're seeing, is there any way that you can tell us how that works for you, and how we can grasp it once we get over the shock of the total undermining of the civilization as we know it? What are the things? It can't be just awareness, or is it?
First of all, you have to take your truth by the teaspoon. You cannot swallow the truth all at once. Somebody has to feed it to you by the teaspoon. And the same thing works for fear. You have to lose the fear, and that's psychic development and development of the spirit is and the adoption of a service to others lifestyle. Those are the secrets of the universe, and the number one secret of the universe, of course, is the service to others lifestyle, as opposed to the service to self lifestyle. That is number one secret of the universe, and everything else is devoted to that, connected to that. And the ramifications of doing this have great effect on your psychic abilities, your protective abilities, your communication skills, on and on and on and on. And ultimately, as we go into this transition that people feel that we are going into, these skills are going to become very useful, and they're going to become the most valuable thing we can possess. Basically, we will be able to alter reality. We're moving into a realm right now, in reality, where what we perceive as reality right now will be able to be altered with just our thoughts. And that's the magic part of the book, obviously, and that's what it is. We talk about manifestation, and in metaphysics community, people talk about manifestation practice it, and trust me, it works. I talk about that in my book. And ultimately, the ultimate use of that power will be instantaneous manifestation. That's voila, magic, abracadabra. That's what that's all about. And people are going to be able to do it. People can't do it. I mean, trust me, throughout history, there are people that actually have been able to do magic, but we call it magic here in the West. In the East, they call it something else.
It's the aha moment. In metaphysics, they say fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And I love that. I thought that was magnificent. And I met a gentleman named Olaf Johnson, who was a really amazing psychic, worked on the NASA experiment. And he totally just was the most amazing person. I met him in his 80s. He said he met the same aliens 4 times. He was the first guy to ever go into the ocean and say the treasure's right there. And it was. And he believed in changing the dice. He was teaching another gentleman about throwing the dice and altering their outcome. And he was amazing. He put little envelopes up to his head when I had him in a documentary. And I said, you want me to tell you what that is? And he said, what would you like it to be? And I knew it was a circle right away. You know, so I believe, so when we awaken from the big sleep and understand what is happening, as our consciousness changes, then it must alter the other consciousnesses around us. Is it something like that?
Well, truth is like fire, and we are trying to light fires, and we're trying to get other people to light fires, and truth will consume everything if it is allowed to spread. And that's what it's all about. And some people's truth burns brighter than others, but it only takes a little tiny truth, such as a spark, to make the whole thing go up. And that's the object of what we're doing with the truth, is we're trying to light fires. And I'll tell you one thing about the truth that's very important, is that it is pure. There is no flavors of truth. There is no black and white. There is no shades of gray. There is only one truth. And that is a very important factor. Now, as far as consciousness is concerned, spirituality and again, what is achieved through the acceptance of the spirit's service to others lifestyle is a major part. And if people did learn to open their chakras and to increase the flow of chi through their bodies, and to decalcify their pineal glands, and all of these things, and increase their gravity. But you see, this is the thing, that one of the biggest things people worry about, mind manipulation and scalar pollution and cell phones and what have you. The best protection you can have against any of this activity, this EMF, this negative waveforms attacking your body, is to have a service to self lifestyle whereby you become a gravity giver as opposed to a gravity taker. So by serving others, not serving substance, by serving others, you actually are creating a type of field around you that is repelling stuff. It's a very strong aura, and I call it spiritual armor, and it's definitely something that you can have. And if you're going to be going down this path, dealing with these dark side, sticking your neck out like this, it really helps to have that spiritual armor. Otherwise, they'll drive you nuts. They'll screw with you. I mean, that's not to say they can't screw with you, because they do screw with you monetarily. They don't screw with you directly. They usually send people into your lives to easily manipulated, and those are the people that screw with you. But either way.
I have a slogan that says the only thing the truth lacks in this world is a sponsor. And we become the sponsors of that truth. And because I totally, for 2 years, I had no insurance on my car in Nevada, so I put white light around myself, gave them the Obi-Wan, I'm not the one you're looking for, and blessed the whole neighborhood so I could roll safely. And I'll tell you, it treated me better than Farmers Insurance ever did. So I'm making light of my little funny, but I totally draw from the universe and draw energy, and I understand sharing it with people, and I have no resistance to wanting to give energy to others, as well as recognizing that I must also keep some for myself, because that was part of a lesson that I learned, and I'm very grateful for that.
Stephen, I know that we're like, I'd like to, because we're in the first hour, I just want to make sure that people know right now where they can get your book at.
Thank you, Terry. Again, name of the book, and I love coming on your show, Terry, and I love having you on my show. So this is just an obligatory thing we do to try to sell the book, I guess. But I do appreciate the opportunity. but I really want to hear more about what you enjoyed about it. But anyway, again.
I do, and there's something I do want to share with you too, about it, and about it, the connection that I made, and this is actually something I've never really said publicly, because it was a very embarrassing moment. But there's a connection. There's a realization that I had. Reading your book, where I went, oh my God, there's something much deeper here. And there was, I had worked on a film, and I was going to a cast party, which was held at a place called Jumbo's Clown Room. Have you ever heard of that before, Stephen?
I don't recall, no.
Okay, well, it's in Hollywood, and it's like a bikini bar. It's it has like the stripper pole, and but it's not a nude place. And it's kind of like, I don't know, like Courtney Love used to be a waitress there. A friend of mine, Tanya Moon, was bartending and waiting tables that night. And there was another friend of mine that I had done stuff with, that was a kind of a producer, writer kind of guy, Charlie. And I took a cab to get there. I didn't drive my car. And I was kind of awkward, because you go to a place like that, and it was a while before anybody that I knew showed up. So I'm having like a drink, and this other man starts talking to me, and because I'm just kind of chatty and nervous and just kind of wanting to talk to somebody for a few minutes, I start talking to him and tell him a little bit about myself, et cetera, et cetera. And my friend Charlie comes in, and they start conversing, and the guy goes, "I'd like to buy you a drink." And I said, "Oh, sure," and so he buys me a drink, and I take a few sips off of it, and then we go outside, and I'm with Charlie, and Charlie seemed to frequents Jumbo's Clown Room a lot, and we were all sitting in a circle, and we were smoking a joint, and we passed around this joint for a while, and I talked, and then I came back, and the guy who bought me the drink looked at me, and he goes, and he was, to me, I thought he was a struggling artist. I for some reason I felt sympathy and wanting to encourage him. And he says, I have to go home now, but I'll see you later. And I said, okay. And so I kept drinking my drink, and something very strange happened to me. And it was like, it's like I jumped into I'm pretty sure I was drugged. And I kind of went into this other sort of reality, where something else was going on in my head than was actually happening in the room. And this is difficult for me to say. I went on stage, and I took my clothes off. Okay, first of all, which was like so uncharacteristic of anything that I would have ever done. And I had this weird perception of, I couldn't tell what was happening. Like all I could hear was it sounded like a bar fight happened, but the sound wasn't like matching what my reality was. And I screamed out some very odd things that, when I said them, I thought about it later, and I was like, where did that come from? Why would I scream this out? But I remember screaming out, "I'm Hitler," and then I said, "I'm Jewish," and then I said, "I'm an angel of mercy," which was a very bizarre thing for me to say. Very, very, very bizarre. And it wasn't something that I actually thought about or was researching. I wasn't completely awake yet. I mean, I was in the process of really realizing that things were going on, and life had gotten a lot more complex for me than originally my first, I mean, like, you start to wake up and things start happening, it's like going down a rabbit hole. So, but I had no connection why I had said it. And then I would have like a break in reality, and all of a sudden I'd have a flash of screaming at the car, where my friends were trying to shove me in the car, and I would say strange. I remember saying things like, "Stop it! I want to get off of this right now," like as if I could stop time and jump out of the track of reality that I was in. and it took me a long time. Like, I took care of an elderly woman, and here I was at the door, like completely naked and just completely like a mess, just a mess. And she said, "Oh, bring her in, bring her in." And she sat with me like the whole night, but it kind of felt like things were just sort of like floating for me. And I woke up the next morning and I thought, okay, I was hoping that it hadn't really happened. And it did. But, the good thing is that, my friend said, well, they're going to put a plaque on the wall, maybe, of the most obnoxious people at Jumbo's Clown Room, right, with Courtney Love. She goes, I haven't even made the wall. And then they invite me to their Christmas party afterwards, which I still don't really understand. Like, I'm like, I totally like knocked off the entire course of the night. And now when I like read your book, and then I see the connection, I'm trying to figure out like what happened to me, like what, because I'm an empath, so I wondered if I was so drugged that I was just feeling the energy of somebody else's or the building or what was the remnants. But anyways, that when I read that passage in that book, I had to take a moment and take a breath, and then the rest of everything kind of like flooded back to me. And so that particular passage, for some reason, resonated with me on a super deep core.
Well, that was something to do with the Getty, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was like the Vince thing.
There was a couple times where one was like talking about Noah's Ark, I think, and then there was talking about the Getty, going around the different rooms in the Getty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's true, but you do that all day. Everybody does that, right? When they walk into a room, they have a certain feeling about what's going on with people in the room, and that's the thing. When you're like empathic, like you say, Terry, sometimes it's difficult. It really is. It all, and that's why, gosh, I can think of so many times where I've had issues. I mean, just like when I'm dealing with the animals, the dying animals, obviously they're empathic, it hurts that much more. But, and you're hurting people, when you're healing people, when you're starting out, you don't know how to get rid of the energy, it can be kind of damaging because you're sucking up all this nasty stuff, so to speak. But when you go into bars sometimes, or restaurants, busy restaurants, sometimes it's too much.
Right.
All the people, all their baggage, depending, especially obviously sometimes it's worse than other times, and it's annoying sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes it's just amusing, and sometimes it just sucks to be right all the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So people think you're
to recognize.
Yeah, it's like people think, oh yeah, you're just using common sense, blah blah. It's like, well, I think it's a little bit more than that. You're like, yeah, well, this person thinks that, this person thinks that, this person's having this issue, this person here is really frustrated in their marriage, and blah blah blah. Like, it's just, you just go down the laundry list, and sometimes you don't pay attention, and sometimes it's just like really loud, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're trying to relax, and it's just really loud.
Yeah. And then what I thought was like, because of the fact that I was drugged, like I had no filter at that point, and so, there's this kind of, like it was just like I don't know, it was very, very strange, and not my finest moment in life, to say the least. But again, that experience has woken me up to certain truths though, and so that I think that that's ultimately where we're going. I feel.
Yeah. Sure thing. Everybody's got to.
What?
It has to be, if you develop that space within yourself as you recognize the truth about energy and the positive and negative that you're feeling. It's kind of like our core issues. It takes a little bit of time to understand it, but then you begin to trust that. How does it feel? And then you have to look at yourself. Am I in a positive position myself? Or sometimes I actually, which I'm a very giving person, very empathetic also, but there are times when I go, not today, because I can feel it's going to take more energy than I'm willing to possess at the moment. So I will back away. But I learned much from animals that were dying, and I consider it a pleasure to be honored if I'm near something that is passing into the next dimension, and how I speak with them and how I feel it, because I'm not afraid of it anymore if I ever was. So how do you cope with all of the healing you're doing?
You know what? We'll get back to that question right after the break.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message. These guys are hammers. And to hammers, everything looks like nails.
I heard that.
You were meant to. So you see something that's important, call it out. Make it happen. Okay. Mother Nature is a serial killer. No one's better, more creative. Like all serial killers, she can't help the urge to want to get caught. But what good are all those brilliant crimes if no one takes the credit? So she leaves crumbs. Now the hard part is seeing the crumbs for the clues there. Sometimes the thing you thought was the most brutal aspect turns out to be the chink in its armor. And she loves disguising her weaknesses as strengths. Keep it fight. Fight. Help each other. Our war has just begun. We are the hammers, and we are the nails. The world stands upon the precipice of total insanity. And we need you, and we hope you need us. Bringing information, news, and as much truth as we can eke out before Mother Nature turns us to crumbs. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Working to become millions of voices. The great. Who knows what is the falls of Washington? Well, that would be me, Wild Bill Sampson, your host of the Sampson Report. Join me for Wild Bill's Headline Roundup every Saturday night, right here on Revolution Radio. Revolution Radio. You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat asses, eating and drinking themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and then bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out. Not we. Get it done. Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. 7 p.m. Eastern Time for Strange Universe with Sean David Morton. A strange, interesting, and engaging wide variety of topics. So be here, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. I would like to take you on a strange journey. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back to the Freedom of Joy show on Revolution Radio. I'm here with Stephen D. Kelly and Lori Buckley. And also just a reminder out there at the second hour that we are listener supported. So do keep us on the air and keep us going. Stephen, are we still doing the auction? Is that still going on here?
Well, you know, he's always got something going on. I'm not sure if the auction's over or not, but it's a pretty big one, I guess.
Yeah.
80-something items.
I was kind of going through the website a little bit looking for it, and I thought, well, I'd ask you too. I meant to ask you before the show, but the auction might still be going on. So if it is, please, check out what you like, make a bid. It's really fun, and you can make a donation and find out everything about us at freedomslips.com. And before the break, Lori asked you a question. Lori, would you like to go ahead and ask that now at the second hour?
I'm so excited to hear everything that we're talking about right now. My mind is just whirling with coolness and also awareness. How do you recharge from having to be carrying all this information and being able to see what we're just learning to see now? How do you deal with it?
All right, well, first of all, from a recharging standpoint, if you mean like chi and energy and all that sort of thing, good chi obviously as opposed to bad chi, but what we're doing right here, right now, by sending information out to the masses, so to speak, when there's an information flow in one direction, there is energy traveling back in the opposite direction. The same thing as when you're healing and you're sending energy to somebody's body, you are receiving information directly back that same path. That's the way. It's kind of like a phone line that goes in infinite numbers of directions. So anytime you have energy flowing in one direction, you've also got it flowing back in the other direction, and you also have information corresponding. It's kind of like that's the way the nature works, and it's a pretty important point. Because it's like gravity, for instance. People think gravity is an energy. It's really an information. It's instructions. Gravity is like intention, which is just instructions. So intention is a waveform that has a certain squiggle that basically represents a certain bit of information, and that's what we do when we think, we pray, and we send out healing. As we work with waveforms. Healing, of course, is having the higher vibration, and when you are healing somebody, you are basically recalibrating their vibration to your vibration, and you can't make them bad because it's only going to go to the higher vibration. But as far as negative energy, negative chi, I wanted to say this before the break. I was thinking about it before you said anything. Sometimes when you're healing, it depends on the person. It's like I said, we all want to endeavor to happen to be gravity producers. We want to be putting gravity out. It's the service to others thing. And as such, it's hard to put energy into somebody who is putting energy out more than you could possibly. It's like trying to take a torch to the sun. It's not very effective. You know what I'm saying? Trying to light a fireball on fire, if you will, with a match. It's not going to make a difference. But when you talk about pain, when you're healing, when you're using Reiki, when you're using even pranic healing, Reiki, of course, being more Asian, and pranic healing being Hindu nature, it's basically the same thing. It's two forms of energy healing that are very prominent in the world. They tend to deal, and even Wilhelm Reich talks about this, they tend to deal with positive chi and negative chi, or good prana, negative prana, pranic energy. And of course, Wilhelm Reich called it orgone, and he said he had good orgone and bad orgone. Same thing, it's cosmic energy, whatever you want to call it, positive ions, negative ions. But when you're when you're straining somebody's aura or doing a Reiki exercises, or even when you're doing pranic healing, you always dump the negative chi somewhere, not on other people. You know, you kind of start at the head and go down at the feet, and then you sort of toss it. And water is very good for this also. Water is a superconductor for chi. So a lot of times it's like I like to have a bowl of water at the foot of the people. If somebody's laying on a table, I have a bowl of water at their feet. So I've got a place to dump this energy. Toss it at the bowl of water, and I swear when I toss this energy at the bowl of water, you see the water ripple. Okay, I mean, it's crazy. When I'm wringing my hands and I'm tossing that energy off my hands, you see it hit the water. It's the funniest thing. You know, I see the water move afterwards. But
dimensional evidence, like
there it is. It's like I'm dumping. Because a lot of times when you're doing Reiki, you see people, they shake their hands, they kind of shake them off. Well, last night when I was working on this person, it wasn't working, of course. I was doing everything I could, but it started as I put out energy out of my left hand and I take energy into my right hand. That's a male thing. Women do it the opposite way, but anyway. So I'm trying to push energy out of my left hand, and it's getting all warm. And it's not supposed to get warm; it's supposed to get cool. And which it's getting all warm. I mean, it's more is going in than it's going out. It's overload. And then my next thing I know, my hand's getting numb. It's traveling up my wrist. I'm like, okay, that's I go run my hand underwater. I wash it off. Try to clean it that way. But as far as from an empathic standpoint, we brought this up earlier. When you're doing distance healing, you don't really have that so much. Obviously, you're not having that close contact. You're not within that person's aura per se. But distance healing is still very effective, but you do still get that empathic thing. Like if you're dealing with somebody who's really screwed up. I mean, depending on how hard you're trying to deal with this situation, you can feel a lot of the negative emotions associated with that accident that person had, or whatever it was that caused that person to be having this injury. So, you work. I mean, it's like someone has a headache, you have a headache. Somebody has a sore arm, you get a sore arm. It's just whatever, backache. Little things like that. That's the sort of thing empaths have to deal with around other people's issues.
Yeah.
And when you release it, you put your hand. For you at that moment, you put your hand underwater to recharge or let go.
Well, that's what I did last night. I wanted to get rid of that energy. I went, I didn't just shake it off. I went and ran water over my hands, washed it away, so to speak. Water is good for that. Water is a chi superconductor, as I mentioned, and it has the ability to, it has a tetrahedral structure capable of containing energy. That's the nature of water. It's just like a big battery, so to speak.
Like in What the Bleep Do We Know, the beautiful examples they gave of putting labels like love on
that's
water.
That's the Dr. Emoto thing, right? Yeah.
I love that. I thought
Which
that
you make a
beautiful.
reference to in your book as well.
Yeah, well, I definitely talk about Dr. Emoto and water because it is so important. It's one of the. That's the thing, though. It's mostly an autobiography, but towards the end, though, I kind of sum up some of the. I try to pass on some tools, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously, certain understandings of some of these concepts, like what we're discussing right now with the water. I mean, we could go into that quite into detail, but why it does that way, what it does. And all the various people who, like Dr. Emoto, of course, who people need to read about. Obviously, Dr. Emoto. But if you haven't read about Dr. Emoto, you want to read about him. Can't remember his name. You also want to read about Schauberger. You want to read about Wilhelm Reich. You want to read about Tesla. That's your reading list, your homework. But after you read my book, which is, we never got to say it, huh?
We didn't say it.
Yeah, Cities Under the Plane. Right now it's only available on Kindle, Amazon Kindle, but if you don't have a Kindle tablet or whatever, you can still download a app on your PC or whatever your device for free that will allow you to read the Kindle material. $7 is the book. I think it's $7.
It's $6.99 actually.
$6.99.
Yeah. To be specific.
I could give it away, but I gotta. And don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna get rich. But Terry, I'll tell you, it would be fun to actually see if I to go on Amazon. Go, oh look, I sold 4 books or I sold 5 books. You know, because we get a lot of listeners, and it's like, oh gosh, you know, I was thinking last night when I had this ridiculous amount of listeners, if I had $1 for every one of them, oh my god.
Well, that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because you know, I mean, I know you, right? And I know you struggle, and as well as a lot of us who are doing this right now, are not, we're not rich, and in some ways, you know, have fallen out of what we'd say our chosen field way of doing something. You know, it's an uncharted thing, and again, I don't know about you, but I spend hours and hours and hours preparing, doing, editing, you know, and then executing it, everything that it takes to, you know, get information out to people. And basically, you know, what I think of is like, if I were to say, well, what can I contribute to the knowledge that I know, or, you know, elevating consciousness, or being what you say, the warrior in the fight, because the game's on, right? Would be this particular, what I'm doing right now. I feel like what you're doing right now. I mean, obviously, you know, you were in a field that paid you pretty good money. I mean, when you read the book, you see where you go up and down, and the business deals, and all of the game playing that goes on, and the sacrifices that you did. You know, your ideas being taken, and, you know, just, you know, all of that stuff, which you know, is what happens to someone like you know, or someone who creates things, or is an entrepreneur in some way, you know. And then now, you know, it honestly, it concerns me. It concerns me to see you put on Facebook that that your power cord is going falling apart, and you're taping it together with the picture of it, and yet you don't have the money to keep the computer on that is the connector to keeping what you're doing here on Revolution Radio. And I just want, you know, to say that to the listeners out there, or somebody who sees this YouTube video, you know, not only is the book, you know, worth purchasing because of the volume of information that's in it, and also the honesty, and, you know, almost, you know, the vulnerability of you, of this, the way that you tell how you got involved, and then your own personal journey into your own awareness, and your own, like you say, the adjusting of you realize that everything that you thought before wasn't the same, and then you're readjusting of that to where you are today, you know, talking about, you know, water and chi, and, you know, energy, and, you know, how to heal ourselves, and also like how to possibly, you know, manifest the world and the reality in which you live in. For me, that's the hope right there, is to know that despite all of this darkness that is going on, that we actually have the ability to open our hearts up, and bring in this new love, this new world that we can create and participate in, and that we are not victims to anymore.
Well, you know, I want to say something real quick. The victim is a good word, first of all. Then the thing is that, yes, when you expose this stuff, you tend to get angry, and because of who I was and what I was being programmed to do, and again, when you get exposed to this stuff, you got to be very careful not to become a tool, because you might go off, and you might go off in the direction that they want you to go off. So you got to be very careful of that, which was something I was always worried about, was becoming a tool. Everything I did, I realized, wait a minute, am I being a tool now, or was I a tool before? It was always worrisome. But the thing is that you decide, okay, screw you, you want to destroy the world, I'm going to fight you with tooth and nail, and fight back, and I'm going to fight on the side of the rest of the world that you want to destroy. And you become a warrior, but then you realize that it's not about, you know, like you know, if I want to get biblical, I want to say, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, and that's what the way it works out. And it turns out that, no, we're not here to fight each other. You know, this is all about fighting the bad guys, and the best way, it's more noble to serve the victim than it is to fight the oppressor.
I agree with you on that too as well. But don't you think, like, I mean, that there is, for me, like, when I look at it, it's like, well, it's about our empowerment in many ways, you know. When I'm talking about it, I'm talking about it in, you know.
Well, let me say this. The reason why I got into all the psychic stuff first place was because they were using it, and I realized that if it was important to them, it should become important to me. And when I realized I was looking for weapons and tools to use, I mean, remember, this all came from looking how to fight aliens. Okay, they wanted me to figure out how to fight aliens, and I came to the conclusion that the psychic stuff is the only way to go. That's when I got to start going hardcore into the psychic stuff. And once you get hardcore into the psychic stuff, you get all soft and fuzzy and metaphysical, you realize things aren't quite, you can't help it. You know what I'm saying? You get exposed to the light side, and you become part of that, the whole love and light thing. And you lose that. But see, that's the thing, is I am bringing this dark side with me, and that gives me an advantage over everybody else is because I have that balance. I've got the good, the bad, and the ugly, so to speak. And that's what it takes to have enlightenment, because enlightenment, at least in this level of reality, is based on an understanding of everything, even stuff that is dead negative and nasty that you don't want to know about. So all these people, love and light people, that think that knowing about the bad stuff is giving energy to the bad stuff, they're deluding themselves, and they're being tools of the dark side, because the dark side likes it when you don't know. They like living in the dark. That's the nature of the dark. The truth is the light. The truth is what makes the dark go away. So that's what we do. We lift up the rocks and shine the light into the dark places. That's the idea of what we're trying to do here. That's what the book's all about.
And
to wake up people.
I liked that aspect of the book as well, because you do tell it like it is, and yet at the end, there is a solution, and there is that acknowledgement of the balance. And I also like the fact that you said it's not about, like, you mentioned it as like aliens. You put it in the alien form, where it's like the benevolent aliens, or the aliens that know the wisdom, aren't going to force their ideas on somebody, because that would be the same as what what the opposition was doing. So there's this you know what I'm saying? There's a balance between saying, well, I see the world this way, and this is the way that I want it to be, and yet not doing that, and yet being part of the positive process, or the evolution of who we are. Because what I feel is happening right now is that, or the light within all of this is, like, through all of this darkness and this acceptance of going, yeah, these people over here, they have been doing that. They, but to be really black and white about them and go, oh, they're just bad people, they're bad souls. I always feel, I'm under the belief, or that my intuition tells me that we've all come out of darkness in some ways, or have went ahead and explored the dark aspects of humanity, whether it's this lifetime, or previous lifetimes that we may have been evolved to. All of us at some point have probably evolved up the chart. And so, again, there is that philosophy of, well, the dark is reflecting the lightness that I see now, because if I hadn't done that, then I wouldn't know what it was, and therefore it becomes more real for you and tangible, because you know what the opposition of what that is.
You can't be afraid to understand what you see. I've had many things I didn't want to know at first what it was about, but I could not help but learn and to see it, so that I could recognize it, so that I could put it in my file under interesting, and keep it an amazing mind of consciousness, so that we could recognize what may not be what it is. And it's not easy sometimes to digest the dark side, but I consider it very important, so that I can understand its strategy, how it lives, like a host, like a parasite. It wants to graze heavily, and so I've looked, and sometimes I was the annoying person to my friends when I tried to discuss it, but it did not keep me from what I was learning, and I think it's very important also.
Stephen, so where can people buy your book?
Yeah, Kindle, Amazon Kindle. Gotta go online.
Okay, all right, because I want to make sure that they know that, and also when they read it, to give a review, because the more reviews you get.
What's going to be fun right now? I'm going to go look at the numbers real quick. just for fun. I can really pull it up. I can go, wow, Carrie, look, I'll
Maybe we can get it to go up like right during the show.
Yeah, just so people realize that it's not like they're just, make me richer. I can put it, I'm seriously, I'll bet you anything I was going to see zero here.
No, well, let's be positive. Let's be positive.
Two, right now.
Oh, you got 2 new cells?
I got 2 cents. Well, I don't know if they're 2 cents the whatever, 12 a.m. this morning. So
Oh, good.
how about that? They weren't there. That's when I went to bed last night at 1:30. So
Hey.
hey.
How many have you sold altogether?
Now, less than 100 in the last 30 days. I'm looking at a little graph. The most I sold in one day was 9, and the average, it was about 2 a day, but then it seems like it's probably a little bit more. I haven't looked at the average, but suffice it to say, the royalty isn't a whole lot. You get, different, in the United States you get 70% if you choose that, and then they also have, in different countries like in Europe, you get 35%. Places, it's different. But, and then out of all that, after the taxes, they take 28%, something like that. You get about roughly 30%, if you're lucky, from U.S. and obviously Great Britain is a lot less.
So we need to sell a lot of books.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fun? That's the guy. I've been told you're either Harry Potter or you're like nothing. Basically, that's the way it works with books nowadays. People don't read. I may do I'll actually. I'm thinking about recording it and attaching that to the book. So you buy the book, you get it recorded. People might like that.
I think that's a great idea.
They don't have to read it. They go, oh yeah, I bought the book. They just push a button. I get to read it to them.
I thought it was a great.
I bought many books for people that I didn't realize till I looked at them a little closer. That because the great thing about hearing the voice is that your hands can work. It's the beauty of radio. You're not having to watch something, but your auditory is working wonderful to take in something while you're going through your life and doing whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. And I think it's a great idea. Plus, you have a wonderful voice, and I think that the truth of you will come through your vocalness, and I think it's a wonderful idea.
Well, Stephen is kind of, you're kind of that, you're an interesting person in the sense that, you were skilled with, making jewelry and optic lenses and laser, you could create all the guns and everything that you created with the laser. I mean, it was just, I was really kind of in awe. And also, what you and your brother's creations did to revolutionize things. It was like, wow, I mean, it was very fascinating, but at the same time, you're a good speaker, you're charismatic, so you almost kind of, you have like quasi, entertainment skills, and which, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I could give you a few pointers, but no, okay.
All right, yeah, okay, that sounds good.
But very minor. But yeah, I mean, and so you're kind of in this. You're in. I feel that it's just your path to to go through this, and then to have these other set of skills to now be a speaker about it. And I noticed that Rhonda in the chat, she put she said that she put the website for people to go to. So it's www.amazon.com/DP/B00L57H1WM. I just thought I'd say that verbally in case somebody's maybe watching the YouTube video later going, I don't see anything in the chat room. But and I'll make sure that I have a link out there for people later on. You mentioned like, well, I don't want to get rich from this, and that's really a nice thing because a lot of people, that do what we do, to look like you want to make a bunch of money or have a bunch of recognition and stuff like that, kind of denounces the truth of the story, and I feel like it's makes people, it's a deception rather than. It's not for profit because you're doing it because right. But at the same time, we do need to make money, and I mean, because I don't feel that someone like you at this point in their life should actually not have the things that they need and to be suffering.
Yeah, what do you do when you've already had all that stuff and then you lost it, and then you got to go back in the mode of even wanting it again? It's because it's a burden. Remember, you have all this stuff weighing you down, and then when you lose it, you don't have it, and then you're going to take it back on again. It's kind of going in the wrong direction.
Right. But not to have like, I mean, you need to have money to get a power cord, Stephen.
I had a tooth fall, a crown fall off. I'm sitting here playing with a jagged tooth. I'm thinking, yeah, great, I can't even afford a hygienist. You get a little in the crown.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I think it's awesome, exactly the way you're living it. You will attract the proper dentist to come to you because you have endured through these things. My dad was a hipster named Lord Buckley, and he lived by he was ahead of his time, or maybe he was on time and the rest of the world wasn't happening yet. But he was an artist, and he believed in himself. And as you understand the power of manifestation and the law of attraction, that these things must, by the beauty of the work that you're doing, must come your way. And I'm right now wishing you thousands of blessings of beauty and energy to come to take care of the things that you require and that you choose to put into your life, because I totally agree. When my dad had nothing, he went out and found something and continued his message, which was all about love, the power of love, the beauty of people. And when we can do those kind of things, and the message that you're bringing to others is a solution to being able to observe all these incredibly crazy things that are going on, and gives people a chance to believe in themselves and that they are universally connected in a magnificent way. They can understand that. They can possess the power to live.
All right, we're going to be right back with the last half hour of Freedom of Joyce. Stay tuned.
Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
We're in a narco-syndicalist commune. We're taking in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week. Yes. But all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting. Yes, I see. By a simple majority in the case of purely internal affairs. Be quiet. But by a 2/3 majority in the case of more... Be quiet. I order you to be quiet. Look, you stupid bastard. You've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look. It's just a flesh wound.
I don't believe I'm subjected by your courage, skill, nerve, grace, stupidity.
I'll do you for that. What? Come here. What are you going to do? Bleed on me? I'm invincible. You're a loony. A black knight's always triumph.
Roundtable Live, Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us. Here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
That's just a evil corpus looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even the brain is just true.
Product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. And do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story. You're listening to Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting in danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio!
Enjoy your extra big fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another? Extra big fries.
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make
no,
a purchase.
no.
I'm sorry you had
Come on. I'm scared
Sorry you
from
had
starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence for self-reliance. This station is 100% listener supported and has a fundraising promotion by having a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if the prices go crazy, it's the fan, or you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our Seed Pack Special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need as humans to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorp to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD of 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What are we doing live? Let's go to the sun.
Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back to the last half hour of Freedom of Joyce. With me is Stephen D. Kelly and also Lori Buckley. I want to thank you guys for doing the show today. I really enjoy this subject matter. What you've written about, and it's been a fun show for me. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, Stephen, is what is your favorite part of your book? Do you have it? Do you have one?
Well, there was one part that actually got removed, and that was the animal part that was pretty good. That the editor thought that probably wasn't appropriate. It was kind of so. If you read the first edition, there was something in there that's not in the new one. But I think the part on the Metropolitans, the part on the Getty. The Getty is plays a very prominent in the whole story, of course. But I think the part about dealing with them, all the revelations, and not necessarily just the whole discovery of the undergrounds, but just how things developed after they sort of decided they had to deal with us and that kind of thing. The exchange of information that went back and forth and the revelations that came out of all that. That's probably an important part. If I had to focus on one part, that's the Metropolitans, the chapter called the Metropolitans. That's probably one of the big chapters. But like you said, Terry, I mean, for me, it's always fun when people are doing it because I know it's an autobiography. And it starts young and it goes, you grow up in high school, blah blah blah, you get jobs and do this and that, get married, things develop as you go. And that's the thing people have to understand is this stuff doesn't happen overnight. This whole revelation process was over 20-something, 30 years, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, so yeah, so it's like you get a little bit today, and then you'll dwell on that, and then, you know, something will come up and reaffirm that, you know, so many years later, and, you know, it builds and builds and builds. That's how that stuff works.
Was it cathartic for you to write it?
Yeah, well, very much so. I, you know, tell everybody to do that because that process is very much so. It's a release of information, it's a clearing of the cache, if you will, and it's also a good epitaph. Obviously, if something happens, it's evidence. You know, that's my idea. I want to get it down on paper before something happened. You know what I mean? So it wasn't lost.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for writing it. I when I read it, I kept thinking this needs to be a screenplay. Have you
There's
thought?
a lot of stuff in there. Well, I did have one guy write a screenplay, and he used certain aspects for his little spy drama, whatever the heck he was writing. But yeah, I really thought there is a lot of interesting. You know, I mean, especially the way if you could turn it into something positive at the end, which is important. But again, the thing is about this book, and this is, you know, I don't know if you know how ballsy it is, but there's a lot of ballsy stuff going on here.
Yeah.
To the very fact that I don't just talk about the Getty having this secret base underneath it when you do human sacrifice and stuff like that, and billion-dollar con. I talk about other people, Dianne Feinstein. I drop a lot of names, you know, of various. There's just a few people, whoever I've come into contact with, you know, political figures and things like that, who are dirty, who I've had, you know, I mean, you know, it's just like dealing with the whole Philippines business. When I was dealing with that, that was kind of that experience basically showed me just how corrupt the United States was with its way they handled the money being spent for military and everything else. But that lesson is a reoccurring lesson. There's a lot of lessons there. And again, sharing it with the people, they get to see what I went through, and then hopefully it'll save them some trouble. They can, you know, they'll go, wow, and they'll start doing the same thing, re-examine what they think they know.
Well, it definitely, once you read it, you're not naive to things, and it kind of, I like the fact that you shared about the people that came into your life, the man that dated your mother, the deception, how far they go to be around you or to sniff you out, or the apparent knowledge that you were working with.
That was the part that was put in the screenplay. That story right there.
Okay.
Yeah, just for your information.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, and again, it makes you aware of, especially when you start to get involved with certain things, or maybe you start talking about certain things, or you start to associate yourself with people that maybe are connected or have information. I think it's important to look around and see who is in your life and why, and who's connected to so and so. I mean, not to like be paranoid, but to realize that that something much deeper is going on, and not to be somebody who is naive as to what links they will go, and what kind of technology they have. Like for instance, like I guess the part about your cousin who came over to visit, went into the garage, and then kind of saw two men and kind of went into a trance.
Yeah, the Men in Black visitors. Yeah, the reason why they did that, I believe, was because he had made no prior contact to us. He came out of nowhere. We weren't expecting him. We hadn't seen him for years, and he just showed up at my house in a semi-truck and let himself into the garage. And I think my protectors and my watchers kind of freaked out, and there was stuff going on in the garage that was sensitive. I had my silver plating operation where I was building the jewelry for Neiman Marcus, but at the same time I was fiddling with technology that was cutting edge UFO type technology, and these guys were kind of freaking out. So when my cousin showed up and went into that area, they immediately had to assess the situation. And anyway, the true words, I'll tell you right now, Jonas, this is the true words that they said. I don't even say this in the book. I'll give you this is a little tidbit just for you, okay?
Okay.
True words that they said, the guy, the black guy said, that this guy repeated back to me, and he said, just another damn pot smoker. Or pothead or something like that. Just another damn pothead. That's what they said. They looked in there, they saw this guy in there. He might have been, who knows? He might have been in the garage smoking a joint. I think he was in there. I thought that, as I understood, he went in there and got a beer out of my refrigerator and sat down, or was sitting there drinking a beer. That's what I thought. He could have been smoking a joint. I don't know, but that's the thing. Is they said, it's just another damn pot smoker. Now, I don't really say that in the book because this is the thing. It's like, people always dismiss that whole pot thing. I think people are intelligent enough nowadays to really know that that's nonsense, and obviously it's the greatest thing in the world from a health standpoint. But that being said, that community, those people, they have this elitist attitude, and it's a little bit old-fashioned, if you will, because they sell the stuff, they released it, they were very much involved in the drug trade. The CIA obviously is the biggest, drug dealer in the world, and yet at the same time, to them, it's a tool to be used to hurt the lower class people. So they kind of turn their nose up at, they sniff, they look down on normal people that do that.
Huh.
Wild, huh?
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying it here on the show, because that kind of makes it's sticking out in my mind.
Well, you read the book, so you know what I'm talking about. You can picture my cousin sitting there. I mean, my cousin's a big, tall guy, big white boy, and out of the army, truck driver. I mean, fair skin, the whole 9 yards, whatever. But he's sitting in this little sofa chair, love chair, if you will, in my garage, which is in close proximity to my 15-gallon tanks of silver cyanide solution. Where I was running my plating operation. And kicking back, that's my little kickback spot. I had a chicken, I'd go in there and kick back with a chicken. But I don't know, I guess it was a pirate operation. I mean, that tank in there was a money machine. It had, every 6 hours it put out $358 or something like that. Every 6 hours roughly, and 24 hours a day. That's, and all I did was fed it silver, and it spit out this money, the jewelry. So many parts. Every 6 hours I made like I think it was like 52 units of these jewelry components, and each one was $5. So you multiply that, by every, I mean, I didn't mind getting out of bed every 6 hours, pull the rack out, stick another one in, go back to bed. $350. Oh well, I gotta get up and go pull this money out of the tank and put some more money in. It was cool.
So have things cooled off for you? I mean, do you have the odd people sniffing you out still, or do you feel that?
Yeah, that's true. I don't really have that anymore, but it is. It's different. Okay. I mean now. Okay, Carrie Cassidy made a comment to me a while back. I'll throw some names around, and she told me from her exposure to, she went to Bilderberger meeting over there in London, and apparently Bilderbergers were talking about me. And that's why she came back to me and told me that. But they basically said that they were more concerned when I was actually building stuff than they are when I'm on the radio talking. They're less threatened by me out here talking and pulling my guts and saying all this stuff than they are, but when I'm actually sitting there in the lab creating stuff to screw with them, or inventing technology like free energy and stuff like that. That's what I should be doing. I'll tell you, Terry, if I was going to do like a GoFundMe.com or something like that, I would invest it in some radionics technology, and I would develop that, and I would come up with some pretty crazy stuff. And that right there, you want to scare the powers that be, give that to me. That's the thing, is they've never allowed me to have more than so much money at any given time, and that's the reason, because they know that I would take that money and I would use it to make something significant, on the shoestring, so to speak. And they've always done that. They've always kept me from having more than so many $1,000 at any given time. If I get a really big contract, something will always happen to screw it up. You know, I won't get paid, or the money will come in just enough.
What is it that you want right now? Is there something that's driving you that you feel that you want to accomplish during this time?
Just this, right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, no, just this. I want everybody. Our ultimate goal, and I think this is the goal of many people in this movement, is to wake everybody up, right?
Right.
And that's number one. Spread the truth. And again, I suppose back to number one rule of the universe is service to others. So I guess ultimately that's what the message has to be. I have to say that the most noble thing I can do in this world is try to convince people to adopt a lifestyle of service to others.
I love that. I love it. I love it, Steve. You know what, Lori? Would you like to add something?
I'm so glad to have heard this conversation today. It just rearranges one's priorities in the sense of awareness and makes sense of all the, because I see it, I'm always reposting annoying things on Facebook, but things I think people should be aware of. And I think that what you've, and I'm just learning more about it, but the things that you've touched on are definitely signals for people to realize that in order to awaken, you must be able to open your mind to another possibility of things going on, and in that, they'll recognize the things that must be known.
Stephen, let's one more time. Where can people find your book?
Amazon Kindle. Google Amazon Kindle. Cities Under the Flame. You know. But I should also mention here real quick, Terry, that if you just Google my name, Stephen D. Kelly, you're also going to get all the shows from Revolution Radio that I've done. They're all on YouTube. They'll all pop up. Also, all my lectures I've ever done at various events. You know, my one thing of if you really want to see what's up, go look at my 2012 alchemy event video. It's got something like, I don't know, 16,000 views on it, something like that. A reasonable number of views, but it's the one where I really come out. That's where my big public thing, where I come out and basically go public with what's going on. That was my first big public presentation before the radio and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've watched it. I've watched that video too. It's a good one to watch. And then it comes in I think there's 2 parts to it. There's the first part and the second part.
Right, I watch both parts.
Yeah. Well, you want to watch both parts, but
there's a lot of stuff out there, and hopefully that'll lead. But again, you know, if you do go to Amazon, and the paperback version will be coming out eventually here. It's just a matter of my publisher's in Costa Rica right now, and he's having a good time, and it's up to him when he's ready. We'll get it done. So it won't be long though.
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah. Well, again, I did read it in 2 days, so
Easy read.
It's a very easy read, once you get through, you go through your background and you growing up, and then just to watch how it all comes about. One thing I thought was interesting was how your brother had the entertainment aspect and all the laser lights that happen at discos and stuff. I actually had an odd moment. Actually, it's in my comedy video that I have on YouTube where I'm talking about Wall Street. And I'm finally at this part of my show where I'm going, this is what I really want to talk about. And all of a sudden, something happens with the lights, and these laser points start pointing all over me, like these red lights. And I'm like, great, I talk about Wall Street, and somebody's trying to hit me, and I'm going to get killed. And I was like, I went through this whole improv piece, and then when I read your book, I go, God, there's the people that actually created that the lasers for me kind of clicked in with it, to what you guys did. It was just kind of a weird little synchronicity for me.
Yeah, kind of pioneers and all that laser disco business stuff.
Yeah. So it's definitely.
It's all about selling alcohol, Terry. That's what it's all about.
Oh, don't tell me about it.
Seriously, all those lights and all that music and the speakers and the DJs and the dance floors, that was for nothing but selling alcohol. That's all they're trying to do is figure out new ways to sell alcohol. That's what our job was, to help them do that. And we did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even even just when you're even the entertainer there, you're basically there to make sure that people have fried foods and they're drinking alcohol while you're there. And then you have these restrictions by club owners saying, we don't want you to talk about this or say this. And you're like, what gives you the moral ground to tell me that? I mean, that's my issue with how all that comes down. But beyond all of that, we can transcend it. Is how I'm looking at it.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
What else? Oh, I should plug the show real quick. I just had a really big show. Of course, Thursday is my big show. Like last night, you did my show. It's at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time, my time. And I do 2 roundtables. Gotta mention that.
Yes.
And those would be Wednesday morning at 2 a.m. and Thursday morning at 2 a.m. Of course, that's 11 p.m. my time, Tuesday and Wednesday. But hey, gotta go by the East Coast time.
Right. I did a few roundtables with you too, which I really enjoyed. So thanks for having me on that.
Oh, well, yeah, you hold me up. Oh, we're having a roundtable. Please, somebody join me.
Yeah, they're definitely fun to listen to and also to participate. And you've definitely brought a lot of interesting people to the show here. I do listen to some of the hosts on Revolution Radio, because I'm still very much in the wanting to get more and more information phase. I spend a lot of time on YouTube watching different videos and researching things now, just so that when you start to join this media, I like to be as informed as I possibly can, and be able to converse and bring different topics on the table. So I definitely have enjoyed your contribution to everything.
Well, thank you for supporting me and helping me do that, Terry. When I have nobody else, Terry, yes, help me out. I need a co-host.
Yeah, and I'm always happy to do it. So anytime you want me to come on and co-host with you, just Skype me.
Thank you very much. Definitely, it's helpful during the. I mean, if you're up that late.
I am always up late. That's my thing. I'm up late.
All right. Well, you're a professional and you're smart. You know your radio, so that's what's important. Radio etiquette is important. Diplomacy is important. There's a lot of things involved, obviously, in what we do that beyond just not sounding silly. Trying not to sound silly.
Right. Yeah. Well, I try not to. Sometimes
unless you're trying to be silly, unless you're trying to.
Right. But some people, oh yeah, she's a comedian. She's yeah. I don't have to be perfect.
No, Lord Buckley said, the humor is the absence of terror.
It is. I have to remember to stay that way, though, because sometimes I get I have to sit back and go, okay, what's funny about this? Because when again, looking at different things and experiencing them, you can become quite horrified and go in the opposite direction. But I'm bringing it back, getting there. So.
Well, it's a good balance to all the negativity you're having to deal with, right?
Right.
That's right.
Well, we need it. All players are called to action. And so, I like humor. I like to keep things on, a lighter side in some ways, because I always found, one time, I was really sick, and I was getting surgery on my back, and I had a bad diagnosis, and I was maybe 15, and I just felt like the world had just dropped off, and I saw a comedian, I think it was George Carlin, actually, and I laughed. And in that moment, I went, oh, okay, I'm going to be okay. And I think that that's important to remember to laugh, because when we do, we've somewhat transcended the thing that we fear. So I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. I want to thank Stephen for being on the show, and Lori Buckley for being here. And thank you so much. We'll be back next week. All right, guys. Thank you.
That was great.
Oh, we need to do a
It's a
station
pleasure.
plug.
What?
We should have done a station plug at the end there.
Oh, shit.
I was gonna throw something there, but I didn't get to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, and thanks for reminding me. I should have done a station plug.
Anyway, I'm looking at these numbers, kind of sucky.
Really?
Well, I mean, they're below the percentage it would like to be right now for the goal. So, I mean, these things are slow. Sometimes somebody always just comes out of the middle of nowhere at the last minute and saves the day. But you know how it is. We have to. If all the hosts did their job with trying to promote things like donate to the station or join the Facebook page, things like that, it would be incredible what this network could do.
Okay. Yeah, I usually go and promote the like the donations and stuff like that, but I have forgotten about the Facebook page. So that's something that I need to include in it.
Yeah. We can get all the hosts to do that, especially like get guys like Sean David Martin or Kerry Cassidy, get them to do it. Although they won't do anything like that. Some of these guys, just a lot of you'd be amazed how many of the hosts really put out very little to support the station. Yeah, it's not cool actually. So anyway.
Well, I'll make sure that I keep going. I'm bummed that the numbers were kind of sucky.
Oh, well, I'm not talking about our listeners. I'm just talking about, let's see, our goal here is $1,900. I'm looking at it, says we've raised $550.
Oh, okay, cool. It's not the listeners. All right, so it's
Yeah.
the.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put a shoutcaster and look at that. I think it looks.
Okay, all right.
Do you watch your numbers? Are you into that?
I don't know if I want to, because then like if I watch the numbers too much, it gets caught up in my head, and then I get all fucked with the number. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready.
You know when you have a good show. I mean, you don't need to look at the numbers, but sometimes some shows get better numbers than others. I remember when I first started doing it on Revolution Radio, I could see the numbers really clearly, and you could watch them grow, 10% a week. Every week you'd see them go up so much, and then it started taking these big old giant jumps, and then you start hitting these really big highs, and it started fluctuating by dramatic amounts. But I'll tell you, when I first started doing these shows, I was doing, 30,000, I had 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. You hit 100,000, you hit 200, 400, 300, you hit a million. First time you pass a million, and then it's all after you pass a million, and then it drops down to 300,000, 400,000, back and forth this way, that way. But it's just the whole network, though. See, this is the thing what people don't realize is that when those people tune in, and one host's show is done, it usually continues. They're still there. They're listening to the next show, and everybody's getting the benefit of these listeners. So it's the numbers for this station. I mean, we were pulling in, and I'm not even supposed to talk about it. Hawk doesn't want to talk about it, but we were pulling in about 1.2 million, something like that. It was yesterday, and they don't. It's a lot,
Yeah.
So and then those people, they stay on too, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's just like television programming. If you're next to a hit show, your chances of getting good viewership after a hit show is pretty good.
Well, part of the reason why I wanted to have you be a guest was I thought, oh, well, usually you get really good numbers too. And so, I was like, oh, well, it's sometimes I like to have somebody on that, people are familiar with. Matter of fact, like Patrick put in the chat, like, normally I listen to B, but Steven's on, so I'm over here.
That's great.
So I said, I put thank you, Patrick, for listening. So,
That's funny.
a lot of people seem to. I mean, they like you. I mean, you host, and I appreciate you like bringing me on too with you because that kind of gives me a little plug for maybe people to come over and listen to
Yeah,
me.
Terry, I come in here, you come on the network, I'm like, okay, Terry, come on my show, I want to boost your ratings. And I'm thinking like all presumptuous, like, do you need any help at all?
Are you serious?
It's all good. It's all good.
I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of a wild card here in some ways. I mean, it's certainly not a medium that I initially expected that I would be gravitated towards or going to. And when I started to do internet radio about the subject matter of marijuana, that I knew a lot about it. I was an activist. I was passionate. I had my own story. I was still not. I was still in the process of realizing how that had a connection to all the other stuff that's going on in the world. So when I was curious, I got very curious about other things, and started to have my own intuition, my own psychic realizations, all kinds of stuff happening. So I sought out YouTube videos and people and things, and I joined the Global Illumination Council and became friends with Bernard Alvarez, who found out that I was a comedian and had been on television and was an activist for marijuana, and so he asked me to be on his show, and I found him from a YouTube video. So it was kind of like this sort of thing where all of a sudden I was studying the media to learn and gain knowledge as to what was coming on, and then I actually joined it myself. And that's where I went, oh wow, I'm actually in it too. And that for me has just happened since June. So there is a bit of like a transition for me in finding like things that I want to talk about, what's my new voice, and getting grounded into my service to others, or how this is going to play out. So it's all very fun, and I'm having a great time, and I'm meeting some very interesting people, and so life is exciting for me right now, to tell you the truth.
It's wonderful, baby. You did a great opening today. I
Really?
enjoyed it. Yeah, it shows you have such the Terry way, the way in which you speak so freely and so beautifully, and to remind us of our humanity or lack of it or where it's going. But it's your playful, joyful, interesting way in which you speak. I enjoyed it very much.
Oh, thank you. It was something that was I've been thinking about a lot, and so I really like to I'm glad to have like a little bit of an opening or a forum to work some of those ideas out, and then perhaps like bring them back later into a stage show as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, Stephen, thank you again. You there?
Yep.
Yeah. I'll be in touch. Anytime you need me to, to come on the show with you or anytime, let me know.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot.
A pleasure meeting you. I really, really enjoyed everything you said, and I look forward to an opportunity to read your book and to keep in alignment and awareness. And I wish you 1,000 blessings, my friend, to bring the things that you require to you as soon as possible. May it be so.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, I think blessings to you, Stephen. I think thank you for what you do. It's thank you, and I wish you everything. Well-being.
A new crown would be nice. Yeah. All right. Yeah, the funds to go see the dentist and pay the whatever. Actually, I know somebody that will do. I mean, the guy. I could get some work. I know a guy who's really good, who is very charitable, but still got to pay his little people. That's why I said on the show, a hygienist is free, it's because, no, hygienist is what you have to, at the very least, have to pay for the hygienist. She's not going to do it for free. The doctor will do all his work for free, but he's not going to, hygienist is still got to get paid.
How much is it going to cost?
I don't know, $98, something like that, depending on inflation, I suppose. Who knows? Well, I mean, that's the very least. I mean, in reality, if I was doing this, obviously it'd be in the 4 digits, but if the guy does everything for free, and I have to pay the absolute minimum, which in this case would be the cost, the salary of the hygienist, but we'll see, and then I gotta hook the gas just to get there. That's a big deal. So, I don't live in that area of the world anymore. When you gotta go where you gotta go. I live in the ghetto now. This guy lives in South County, California. Irvine, to be precise. I live in La Puente.
Well, I know where La Puente is.
La Puente is?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yes, I know where La Puente is. I've done a show in La Puente.
Really? Where?
Some bar, I mean, like there's.
Oh, was it like Hacienda Heights, City of Industry type of thing?
Well, yeah, I mean,